Hello. I'm going to try to fill in for Jeff today. I've been in constant conversation with him, so I think I have things pretty well nailed down. And so our topic today, how workers' comp and OSHA work together, and or maybe don't work together. When an accident or injury occurs, I hope you're all familiar with these steps. These are the ones you should be following. An employer reports the step, employee rather, reports the injury immediately, we hope. Don't wait around. The supervisor, of course, we discussed, Marshall's talked about this, and Christy talked about it. Supervisor investigates the accident, takes necessary corrective actions. Well, we just talked about slips, trips, and falls. If the floor is wet, get somebody to dry it up. If the sharps container looks like it's getting too full, get a new one in there, get the other one out. So take the necessary steps to prevent it happening again. If there is the HR office, rather, provides the employee with a list of panel physicians, and of which they select one. And again, it's important that you get the name of that panel in, so that we, as we've heard before, so that if there are any other issues, and to be sure that, as we'll see later on, if a bloodborne pathogen type experience or blood and bodily fluid situation takes place, and the person is found not to be infected or whatever, that it will at least cover that first portion of the event until it's determined that the person is okay. In order to be in compliance with the Governor's Executive Order 109, I think you all, again, are very familiar with the fact that you must submit a claim on visual liquid lead within 5 days from date of injury. Or if you don't, as you also probably all know, you face the wrath of Jeffrey Anderson when he does his audit of your response times. And I know you've been hearing from him a few times. Then our office, the Office of Human Resources, must submit the claim within 10 days of the date of injury. And so that's how we stay in compliance with executive order. And people are very concerned about that and track that very closely. Now let's look at what kinds of events that need to be recorded on the OSHA 300 report. First, in order to determine whether an event needs to be recorded or not, you need to look at all aspects of the incident. Remember, whether an accident results in compensable workers' comp claim, whoop, did it come up? It didn't come up. There we go. Remember, whether or not an accident results in a compensable workers' comp claim, it has no bearing on whether it is an OSHA recordable incident. So that's why I say, when the title of the program is they work together, well, maybe they don't. So you need to remember, you have to assess the OSHA recordables entirely separate from your workers' comp. So what are the OSHA recordable events? It's a lovely list. Death. As traumatic as this incident is, I think it should be easy to remember that this is a recordable case. Loss of consciousness. Now, this does not mean that you catch somebody sleeping somewhere. No, this means somebody actually is passed out, lost consciousness, and that is also a recordable event. If, because of the injury, the employee is out a day or more from work, the day of the injury, this is something that's important. The day of the injury does not count towards that. So if somebody goes to the docks, gets the medical treatment on the day of the injury, but reports to work the next day, that does not get recorded. However, if they're out the next day after they've been to the dock, then it becomes a recordable injury. If an employee had a job modification in order that they could come to work. This must be, this must be a true restriction because the injury affects their ability to perform their normal work. That is, if somebody, say, has a restriction of, let's say it's a person who's sitting keying data all day, and they have the restriction that they can't lift more than 10 pounds a day. Well, that's not a restriction for their job. It does not apply to the work that they're actually performing. So therefore, it does not qualify as an OSHA recordable. However, if in their job they're required to do lifting and moving of documents and things like that, then indeed it would be an OSHA recordable event. And finally, if the employee received medical treatment, not first aid. Now, Jeff has told me that this is a very esoteric area because, and that he recommends that you go to our website and we have some listings out there that will help you determine what is what. A good example that he gave to me was, for instance, if someone goes and sees a doctor because they've broken a limb or something like that, and they get a hard cast put on that break, that's considered medical treatment. However, if they get a soft cast put on it, that's considered first aid. And then, of course, as you all should know, if any of these 5 things occur, you need to add it to your OSHA 300 report within 7 calendar days. So now let's talk about blood and body fluid exposure. Get to the good stuff. It's been a critical area of focus for our agency. And of course, one of the primary sources has been needle sticks. So we're talking about OSHA and needle sticks. And know that if you have a dirty needle and you have a needle stick, it's automatic for it to be recorded on the OSHA 300 report. Something else you do when you record it on the report asks for the individual's name. In these instances, you do not record the individual's name. However, you put in that space, it says privacy case. And you then have a separate log, an OSHA privacy log, where you log the case number and the employee's name for future reference if someone, because this can be, the OSHA 300 report is public, and so if that way you're protecting the identity of someone who could potentially become infected or whatever. So that's why we're using the privacy log. Don't forget to do that. All right. Now you may be required to use the Sharps injury log. This is, you may or may not, but you may be required, and it requires the following information. And as I note there, you can avoid using that or doing that log if you put all that information that's required on the Sharps on your OSHA 300 log. And here's the information that's needed. Type of brand of device involved, your district office and work area where the instance occurred, and an explanation of how the incident occurred. But as I was saying before, save the effort, put all that information on the OSHA 300 report and the privacy log, and then you don't have to fill out the Sharps. Moving right along. Again, now if the needle that person got stuck with was clean, we have a different situation. And there's been some confusion about this too. You only record it if it meets one of the OSHA 300 recording requirements, or recording criteria. That is, if the person dies from it, or loses consciousness from it, or they spend days away from work from it, or we have to restrict their work because they stuck themselves, or they required medical treatment. So that's the 2 things. Dirty needle, automatic. Clean needle, if it meets one of the OSHA criteria, then we record it. With splashes and other exposures, you only record them on the OSHA 300 report, if the employee is diagnosed with an illness that's related to the exposure, or it results in death, loss of consciousness, days away from work, restricted work, or medical treatment. Keep those things in mind. That'll help you. You can come up with some kind of a mnemonic device to remember those. That'd be good. So, how about payments? This is one of the things that we were talking about earlier. Christy touched upon. And let's see if I can not make a hash of it. As you heard this morning, our workers' comp is handled through third-party MCI. In regard to the blood and body fluid exposure, the state's workers' comp covers more than is required by the code. The code only requires payment if the result is positive. And as we heard this morning, earlier this morning, our workers' comp pays for the initial doctor's visit and testing to determine if there's any effect from the exposure. There we go. If the results are positive and the case is determined to be compensable by MCI and workers' comp services at DHRM, then all additional treatment costs are covered. If for some reason this is not deemed compensable, and again, as we talked this morning, workers' comp will pay for treatment up until the day of denial. Now here's a listing of what OSHA requires. If, for example, the blood source proved negative, workers' comp will pay for the initial baseline testing and medical visits. And if it's determined, though, that that there is no effect or whatever, and the individual goes through other forms of prophylaxis or other kinds of treatment afterwards, then the district or the office has to pick up the cost, any remaining cost that comes from that. So that's the one thing that they require, and it goes beyond what we will provide. So I've gone through that. Are there, I hope, well, let me ask, are there any questions? And I'll try to answer it, and perhaps Marshall can help me out. Are there any questions on what I've just gone over, on what's recordable and what's not, as well as the workers' comp versus and payments when you have an exposure? Okay, going. Two final things here. Here are our statistics for our workers' comp claims, and as you can see, it kind of goes up and down, and you can clearly see from this that the OSHA recordable claims are entirely separate and distinct from our workers' comp claims. And this will be out, this presentation will be out on the web for you all to have too, so that you can check this out yourself. And then finally, for additional resources, we've got the workers' compensation checklist and the Workforce Safety and Employee Health website, and we're going to try to show those to you right now. And we're thinking, the computer is thinking very hard. Here we go. So here's our workers' comp checklist for you to look at. This will take you through step by step the entire process, and so that you all, it's great. That way, if you have any confusion, it gives you links to all the things that you need to go to, all the forms. Here you have some visual liquid web information here that you need. So this takes you all through all that stuff. And because it's step by step so you don't have to miss anything. Other thing that we have is we have the workplace safety and employee health, where we have all the things you need to deal with those sorts of things. Whoops, what happened there?
I refreshed it because I updated it.
Oh, thank you. I got you. All right. So you got the executive order there, you got the safety and health program, you've got good things like here you got your infection control guides and all those wonderful things there, blood board, pathogen plan template, pathogen training, all kinds of good things here. So these are things that are available to you right now. Here's a job safety analysis form. You heard about the training that Marshall's going to be doing on that. There's some tools for you to possibly use after you've taken the training. And there you go. You want to bring me back up? Beam me up.
Oh, you mean you?
Yeah, show me. I want them to see me.
Got it.
Sorry about that. So now, if there are no questions out there, what we would ask you to do, oh, I hear a question.
I do have a question.
Excellent.
Hi, this is Jenny up at OLC.
Yes, hey Jenny.
Hey, my question has to do with payment, because I had one of my employees that had a workers' comp claim in, and she was referred to another physician and also had to have some other tests run. And where she went, the medical facility she went, they insisted that she give up her health insurance information, even though it was a workers' comp claim. Is that permissible, or should they be doing that?
I personally, Jenny, I'm making a note.
The best thing to do.
Yeah, Marshall knows the answer,
Okay.
Well, I don't know the exact answer.
but she knows more than I do.
But the best recommendation would be is have that employee contact her benefit coordinator with MCI. So if she bills, because they do, sometimes that does happen, and there is a process in place that MCI has to reimburse the health insurance, because that happens sometimes. So the best thing is have your employee contact their benefit coordinator and talk about it with them, and they should be able to help her step by step through that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Sometimes they do it because people.
So the question is does she give up the health insurance information to the other provider?
I think in the past some places ask of it, because if for some reason the employee says it's a workers' comp claim and it's really not, then they don't have any way to bill the employee, bill that person. So I think it's a payment, it's a securement of funds for that, is what I think it is. But
So the answer is yes, and she should go ahead and provide that information.
But she needs to let her benefit coordinator know
Exactly.
that they did that, because they've got their money's think about it, it's one big pot of money, and they just got to move it around from
Right.
either health benefits or workers' comp.
Depending on what's
Yeah.
appropriate.
Right. So, but work through the benefit coordinator.
Okay. Other questions? That's a good question. Okay, there being no. Oh,
Bob?
another. Yes.
Hi, this is Linda in Lord Fairfax.
Yes,
This is
Linda.
a follow-up. This is a follow-up to our problem we had yesterday with the pharmacy and the First Script card. The employee went back to the pharmacy and they denied her health care. She had to pay for the prescription totally. So they denied both cards on an emergency basis.
And she's been with us.
Is that permissible?
Well, has she been with us for a while? I mean, in other words,
She was full-time, went part-time, is now full-time again.
She has health coverage. She's been covered since March, so, I mean, that's not the issue, so. But they denied the first script card at both times, and her health insurance card.
Well, the first thing I would say is I would follow up on what Marshall said in that other situation, and that would be to get in touch with the MCI person, the coordinator there, of their claim.
Or call Sherry.
Or yeah, Sherry, who was on the presentation this morning, and to in order to try to get that ironed out, because there should be some way that she should be reimbursed for that. Now, in terms of them not accepting her health insurance, I guess I'm going to ask Doris, who's in the room here with me.
I have no idea why they would not accept her health insurance unless they, didn't accept it.
Yeah, she's saying she doesn't think there should be any reason why they would not accept her health insurance card at this point. So maybe we better handle that offline though, and you want to get in touch with Doris, and,
Okay.
and we'll see if we can't
Okay.
figure out what's going on. Because a pharmacy turning down your health insurance card doesn't
Right.
make any sense. Well, that both the first script and her health insurance card.
I do know that first script will only pay one time
Right.
until that claim gets put in.
Right. And yes.
They can only use it one time until that claim actually gets put in. So if this is the situation that we were talking
Yes,
about
it is.
yesterday, then that claim was not in.
Oh, say that.
Yeah, okay. The issue is that if, for the first script card to be paid, the claim has to have been filed and be electronically already there so that they can pull it up and see that it's there. And they will only pay one time on that card until that claim gets filed. Now, so, yeah, the health insurance still doesn't make any sense, so we need to follow up with that
Okay.
offline. Yeah.
Okay, and if you could go back to the bloodborne pathogen,
Yes.
and workers' comp paying the first visit, and if it's pot negative, the district is responsible for the remainder of the other two visits. It was my understanding that if they don't pay for the final two, that it goes to the health insurance and then the district pays. Is that correct?
Linda, I have to tell you, what I was told,
Okay.
I'm not aware of that. What I understand
Okay.
is that we are on the hook for it. According
Okay,
to,
because that was a
as I
comment,
understand,
that was something we had talked to Jeff about last week. So maybe we can handle that one offline too.
yeah, because my understanding is that from the OSHA requirements of what we're required to pay, that we're required to cover those things.
Okay,
And I'm not sure, at least the way this reads, I don't think there's a proviso that says if health insurance won't cover it, that we cover it. No, it's that we cover it ourselves. So we probably need to.
okay.
Further
I'll
clarify.
follow up with Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.